All right, are you good? All right, without objection, we're back in regular session at 7:26. Thank you all for your patience and engagement and conversation. Let me get caught up on where we are in the agenda.
Did you write the time, what time we went into that? 6:30?
Yes, it was 6:35.
Yes. Hello. Smaller crowd, I'm
Hi.
sorry.
No, we have to reduce by two. Which is the warm office.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
All right, brings us to our superintendent's report.
Great, thank you. So I would like to start tonight by congratulating Sarah Llewellyn, who has been nominated for the Lincoln County Teacher of the Year. She can choose to engage in that process or not engage any further to run for that, that title. But I think it is a well-deserved honor. Kim had made that nomination and I couldn't agree any more that she is worthy of that. So congratulations to Sarah and how lucky the school is to have her here. Second, I would like to let you all know that I gave into an invitation to participate in the staff spelling bee here at Grades All Day recently, and was the first person out on the first word. But it was a tough word. I didn't know that it had an H in it. So it was a lot of fun, and I do appreciate the staff and the students putting up with me interviewing and being a part of that. So that was a fun time for that morning. We at central office are in the swing of things for budgets for Bristol, South Bristol, and Noblesboro. We've actually gone through the joint meetings with the town budget committees and are now waiting for their town meetings. Great Salt Bay, Jefferson, and the three secondaries are in the development process and will be moving forward in March. Last year, Tara secured for us grants with excess federal funding for summer school. Those grant applications are open again this year. Just now opened, and she is getting the information to input and try and secure more funding this year for that awesome program. So we're very excited for that. And today we submitted the application for another round of electric bus funding. We submitted for 2 of those to go in, and we will let you know when that comes back eventually, if we were successful or not. So we are hoping that this time we are successful. And a piece that I would like to just make sure all boards are aware of is an upcoming change to 4-year-olds with disabilities across the state. You may have seen some of this in newspapers like the Portland Press Herald or publications from the Department of Education. We are the only state in the country to not have 4-year-olds that have disabilities receive their special services through the school system. CDS manages those, but they don't operate a school, which makes it very difficult for them to do so properly. We receive the students when they come into kindergarten with whatever is in place already. Is apparently not working very well with CDS not operating a school, managing placements and trying to figure all of that out. And we are also going to be subject to a federal review. The state is going to be subject to a federal review from the Department of Education on our services for those students. Prior to them telling us what we have to do, our current commissioner is trying to get the schools involved with creating a plan ahead of the federal government telling us how to do that. So she is currently seeking a lot of feedback. Commissioner Pender Macon is seeking a lot of feedback and consideration for how schools can take on the oversight of that and phasing it in over the next 3 years. So 1/3 of the districts in the state would take on that responsibility next year, 1/3 the following year, and 1/3 the following year, so until we all had that responsibility. I think it's pretty clear that eventually that would become pre-K available for all students under our schools, which I hope, to be honest, I hope is available statewide eventually. But the first step is the 4-year-olds with disabilities and then moving on from there. That doesn't mean a student would have to leave a placement if they're in one right now that's successful. If there's a 4-year-old that's receiving services at a Head Start location and we knew that it was working, they would be there. It would just be our special ed director taking control of the IEP and managing to make sure things were done properly according to the laws. If they didn't have a placement, it might be that their parent brought them into the school building during the day and access services from providers here. That is completely dependent on the child, the needs, the community, this situation, but it would turn to our special ed directors to oversee that instead of having outside people through CDS. CDS would still exist. Their jobs are not on the line with this. It is something that they would then work with our people on as well, but it's another added responsibility for our special ed directors too, which we need to consider when we think about their workloads. So I'm not asking anything of you tonight. For that, I'm making you aware so that when you see it on the news or read it in newspapers, you have an understanding of where things stand with that. And that is my report. Oh, no, that is not my report. I also have the safety grant and the maintenance loan updates, which are here on my computer. Okay, so the GSB security grant team met 3 times in January to discuss project steps and identify where to move forward on specific parts of the project. We actually heard about some of it from August when he did his facilities report. The first 3 main areas of focus are on window and door security, interior and exterior door access, and visitor management / emergency response / student parent reunification systems. KJ, our Great Salt Bay Technology Coordinator, and Mark, our head custodian, were able to get vendors in to provide quotes for the window tinting and the shatterproofing that we'd like to explore. RJ thank you, and Main Sun Solutions both were able to give quotes, but we did decide to go with RJ Goen for their responsiveness to the request and willingness to order the project and product and schedule the work in timely manner. We agreed it would be done over April break, so that's really fantastic news. Principal Schaff, that's weird to me, Kim will be signing the contract in the second week of February, and partial payment would be given then, and the rest at completion of work. The team also decided to move ahead with Northeast Technology to do the interior and exterior door access systems. We're reviewing the contract now. Pending any changes, it would be signed as well by Kim in the second week of February. The team is looking at a quote by OmniAlert as well for an AI firearms detection system. That would work with our system that we have here or putting in. And we are also exploring the legal ramifications of AI in that realm. So that's something we are checking into. We're also seeing if there's a system that can detect other types of weapons as well as just student altercations. KJ's beginning that search and has an early possible lead. The team did move on to further discussing the Raptor quote for visitor management, emergency response, and parent reunification. A team from this school went down to Scarborough to see a school that has the system in place and to check it out. And of course, have met with the company to discuss what they can do. And we are considering a soft launch of that program, rolling it out in the fall, the soft launch in April, May, and rolling out the full system in the fall of 2024, when we have time to train staff and visitors on protocols. Mark's continuing to work with local vendors and contractors on securing quotes and different solutions to the 2 new areas for door construction that will give us the ability to block off the front office as an interior vestibule area for parents to check in without having to come into the full part of the school. That will be a great addition. And also a new mag release security door that will block off just after the cafeteria ramp so that the rest of the building can stay secure when public events are in there. And as always, we appreciate the incredible work they are doing on that.
Wonderful, absolutely. Thank you, Lindsay. Questions?
Now,
questions?
Yeah, I mean, since I'm writing the report, I mean, we're moving ahead with other pieces of it too. We did find a system that could possibly do more than just the firearms. So we're kind of looking into from the legal standpoint, just making sure that that's okay. But we have some even significant money savings that we can use in other parts of the grant by going with a more full-fledged system, and on top of that, perpetual licensing. So it's not going to be a big cost after we get the pieces in place. We're buying it all up front, and then we'll have it in perpetuity. So that's going to be just a win-win. Huge. Some other pieces we're another part of the grant, we're looking at updating the PA system with a new digital signage piece. So not only having our phones go digital, but our PA system to be able to sort of zone off. So we don't have to do like an all call for the whole building and sort of disrupt the day. We can actually just kind of keep it into like a certain wing where it needs to be. But for the classrooms, there's also a digital display that normally would have a clock, but we can actually text into that room and display any message that we needed to, like a lockdown or fire alert or, even, certain students be dismissed, so, if it's loud and for whatever reason I can't hear, a teacher could come back in the room and see a message actually scrolling across where the clock would normally be. But it would be nice to have like an updated, not only like an actual clock system that stays up to date and batteries don't need to be changed and teachers can actually, know what time it actually is. But to have a quiet alerting kind of system, that could go all the way through the building, along with zoning that PA, I think will be another huge security piece as well.
KJ, thank you for all of the efforts above and beyond on this. Such an asset to the school. Other questions for Lindsay? KJ? All right. Brings us to principal's report. Kim?
Okay, so just want to highlight a number of things. Under the community and field trips, we introduced this past January and February, a couple of new field trips for students. And so the three that I just wanted to highlight was Jill Davis took a small group of students down to the Carpenter's Boat Shop. And they did a woodworking lesson. And as Jen Gregg mentioned, woodworking is something that students had a great interest in. So to bring those students down was very well received. The other field trip that we haven't done in a number of years, but I was so pleased that Nicole Ellis wanted to have our students participate in the Venture Lab Gulf of Maine Research Center. So they went down. It was a later, late mid-morning, and they did not come back to the school until 4:30. And, again, to see the students' excitement to be on the charter buses, or charter bus, that was a big thing. But then just to have that opportunity to go to that research center, it was kind of, neat, because that evening on one of our local stations, they were actually highlighting that program and a field trip, and a number of us were like, it's gonna be GSB. It wasn't GSB, it was a Lewiston school, but to provide that opportunity for the students to enrich their science instruction is just it's a very good program for, Nicole to bring to our students. Our sixth graders were not eligible, but we're gonna be looking at, next year trying to have both grade levels involved. And Aaron Mishku organized and brought back a winter carnival. So, throughout the year, we're going to 3 times during the year, going to be having field days and community days. And so for the winter, we have the K-5 winter carnival. And on Friday, we're going to have the 6th through 8th carnival for students. August did summarize the facilities and grounds, but I want to highlight under food service that once again, the numbers of our meals served have increased. And especially in comparison to when we look a year ago. And so in particular, the lunch count, even though there were fewer days last year, there were 4 fewer days. But we had more than 1,000 meals served at lunch. So that increase is remarkable. So wanted to highlight that. Also wanted to highlight under athletics that our members of the boys team won the Bristol tournament that happened. And so that was something to celebrate. And also we have filled the very big shoes of Mike Stenstrom, who did the archery program for years, with Aaron Michu. So that program is continuing. As you would have seen as parents and community members, I have shared out, and I'm using multiple communication platforms, information about the pre-K interest survey. So realizing that, we put things in our newsletter. I had a letter, we're putting it out on the Friday flyer. At this point, only 10 individuals have filled out that interest survey. But we really want to get as much information, I should say, about interest in a 4-year-old program. So that when I have a board presentation, which will be happening next month, we have that information. So that's going out. The other thing, other surveys that have been sharing with the community of grades 3 through 8 students, parents and guardians and staff is a mid-year climate survey. And so, that's important information for our school, and our leadership team will be analyzing that, and that'll be information I share with the board. The other things that I had highlighted for some of the programs that Jen talked about. So how well our students did on the math counts, and then the fact that Don Greenleaf, our students, brought home first place for the book, the Battle of the Books.
Battle of the Books,
So
yeah.
they're going to states, and we've never done that, so it's pretty exciting what's happening, so.
He took South Bristol's crown.
It's good, so.
Quick
Yep.
recommendation for that pre-K survey, the YMCA's childcare program did a really good job of blessing all parents through an app.
Oh, okay,
They have an app called Daily Connect, and just sending that link out via that would be. a good
okay,
way.
I would
That would be that, 100 plus kids that are involved in
thank you, yeah.
that at various levels.
Great.
Great. Other questions for Kim? All right. Thank you, Kim. Brings us to old business, of which we have none. We do have one piece of new business that emerged out of a conversation we had during executive session.
You probably can't read mine.
So seeking action to authorize the superintendent in council with legal counsel to pursue the formation of an RSU comprised of GSB, CSD towns to be organized either effective July 1st, 2024 or July 1st, 2025. In either case, subject to approving referendum votes. So, thank you, August.
Second.
I think I heard Amy first. Any need for further discussion? I think just to set the context, like this is a step that I think is critical to allow us as three towns to really focus our effort on internal staff, student needs, for the benefit and needs of our community. So I'm excited to see the results of what comes over the next couple months.
And the secondary boards will do the same vote in order to make that combination of the four happen.
Great. All right, thank you all. Take a vote. Yes, I do want to vote. Nope, just wanted to make sure I got my notes down. All right, all in favor? All right, thank you all. All right, brings us to policies. So seeking action to bring into first read as a batch, GCI, GCOA, GCOC, GCSA, GCSA-R, IHB, AA, IHBAA-R, IHBAC, IHBG, IHBGA, JJIBC.
Second. Would you let me just speak to the overview quickly?
Yes,
Right,
please.
these are first read for anybody at home watching, so they have a month of review by the policy committee or any other necessary people before they're approved, hopefully next month. They cover professional staff development opportunities, supervision and evaluation of professional staff, and administrative staff, employee computer and internet use, and then referral of special ed or general education interventions, and child find, which is referral to special ed, homeschooling policies, and relations with parent and teacher groups, which is an edit based off a request from a parent teacher group recently, just to clarify the way a sentence is written. So nothing that changes, I think, the day-to-day operations, but acknowledges we follow legal and best practices.
Yeah, and we'll be discussing these and
Yeah.
working on them during next month's policy meeting. All right, questions, again, bringing the first read, so plenty of time for review. All right, seeing none, all in favor? Well. Right, seeking action to bring into second read and approval policies DKC, JL, GBEC, GBGB, GBO, GBP, GCFB, GCFB-R, EEAEAA,
That's the hardest one, I think.
Old MacDonald had a farm, EEAEAA-R. August, Amy, any discussion? Again, many of these are policies that we've had in place and simply updating them. As you can see, many have not been updated since 2020, 2021, so making sure.
2016.
For 2016.
Some of them.
So just our continued effort to be as up to speed with the legal requirements and statute with all of our policies. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you all. We do not have any donations or grants to accept today, but thank you to all of our organizations that have donated previously. We appreciate it. So with that, that concludes the business of the board this evening. So without objection, declare the meeting adjourned at 7:47.
And I will tomorrow splice the two sections of video together and repost them on YouTube as one.
Great, thank you.
Sleeping on the job.